You've been told that the way to handle a manipulator is to confront them. That when someone is twisting the situation, guilting you, rewriting what happened, making you the problem, the strong move is to name it out loud. To look them in the eye and say, clearly, I see exactly what you're doing. That instinct feels like power. It is almost always the moment you hand your power back. Not because naming the behavior is wrong, not because you should sit there and absorb being manipulated in silence, but because the confrontation itself is the one move a manipulator is completely prepared for. It's the terrain they're most comfortable on. The second you accuse them, the conversation stops being about what they did and becomes about your accusation, whether you're overreacting, whether you're paranoid, whether you've always been a little too sensitive. You walked in with a point. You walk out defending your character. That isn't a failure of your argument. It's the design. A manipulator does not panic when you fight them. Fighting is the game they know how to win. They panic when the fight stops being available, when there's suddenly nothing to push against. There is a different move. It's quieter. It doesn't announce itself. And it is the one thing they genuinely cannot handle. Manipulation is not magic and it isn't charisma. It's a system, and every system needs inputs. The input a manipulator runs on is your reaction. Over time, sometimes months, sometimes years, they've built a working model of you. They know which words make you feel guilty. They know how long you can hold a boundary before it softens. They know that if they go cold, you'll chase. That if they raise their voice, you'll start explaining. That if they bring up the past, you'll apologize for something you didn't even do. None of it is improvised. They are steering by your responses, the same way a driver steers by watching the road. When you confront them, you are not escaping that system, you are feeding it. A confrontation is a reaction, a loud, emotional, unmistakable one, and it tells them the machine is still working. Now they have a target, your anger, your tone, your accusation, and the manipulator can defend against the target all day. What they cannot defend against is the absence of one. Here is the thing they don't expect and can't easily counter. You stop reacting. Not in a cold, punishing way. Not with a speech about how you finally figured them out. You simply stop producing the outputs their model of you is built on. Because the moment your reactions become unpredictable, their map of you stops working. And the manipulator without an accurate map of you is not powerful at all. They're improvising. And somewhere underneath, they know it. That specific feeling, reaching for the lever that has always worked and finding it does nothing, is what panic actually looks like from the inside. It rarely shows up as fear. It shows up as escalation, as sudden sweetness, as one new tactic thrown at the wall and then another and then another. That flailing is the tell. It means the old tools stopped working and they're scrambling for one that still does. You don't get there by trying harder. You get there by giving less. There are 3 things that quietly dismantle a manipulator's grip. None of them involve confrontation. First, become unreadable. The manipulator navigates by your emotional weather, the flash of hurt, the defensive flush, the tightness in your voice. Deny them the reading. When they say the thing engineered to provoke you, you don't have to swallow it and you don't have to explode. You pause. You keep your face still. You answer the words, not debate. This is the hardest move because the reaction wants out and every instinct is screaming to set the record straight right now. Resist it. What you're protecting in that silence is the one thing that makes you hard to steer. They can no longer tell what's landing. Second, stop explaining yourself. Manipulators live in the space your explanations create. Every justification is a handle, something to grab, twist, and hand back to you later. So shrink the surface. No is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me needs no supporting evidence. When you stop over-explaining, you stop supplying material, and you stop treating their approval as a debt you owe. A person who doesn't feel obligated to justify their choices is a person who cannot be talked out of them. Third, stop needing them to understand. This is the one almost everyone skips, and it's the one that ends the game. The deepest hook a manipulator has is your need to be seen accurately by them, to make them finally admit what really happened, to get them to agree that you're not crazy. As long as you need that, they own it, and they will dangle it in front of you forever. The moment you stop needing their version of reality to match yours, you're free. You know what happened. You don't require their signature on it. And the entire machinery of gaslighting, which only works on someone still hoping to be believed, has nothing left to grip. This isn't about winning, and it isn't about revenge. Going quiet and self-contained isn't a clever trick to get the upper hand. It's simply what it looks like to stop participating in a dynamic that was never fair to begin with. The goal was never to out-manipulate the manipulator. The goal is to get accurate information about who you're actually dealing with and to become someone their tactics no longer work on. Because when you stop reacting, you finally get to see them without your own noise in the way. Some people, faced with someone they can no longer steer, adjust. They feel the old tools go dead and they start meeting you honestly. That's worth knowing. Other people escalate because control was the entire point, and a person they can't control has no value to them. That's worth knowing too. And confrontation would never have shown you the difference this cleanly. It would have handed them your reaction to hide behind. The calm hands you the truth, and once you can see it plainly, without the fog that conflict pumps into the room, you can decide what you actually want to do. Not from fear, not from the exhausted confusion of someone who's been arguing in circles for years, from clarity, which is the only ground solid enough to make a real decision from. So here's the question worth sitting with. Think about the last time someone got inside your head, guilted you, rewrote the story, made you the problem, and you tried to argue your way back out. What happened next? Did anything actually change? Or did you burn your energy defending yourself, explaining yourself, trying to get them to admit something they were never going to admit? Now imagine you'd said almost nothing. Imagine you'd stayed calm, given them nothing to push against, and simply stopped needing them to agree. Picture their face the moment the lever they'd always pulled just didn't move. That's when manipulators panic. Not when you raise your voice, when you stop handing them the one thing they were counting on, you.